Jin Roh the Wolf Brigade is one of the many anime out there that have the reputation of being able to separate the boys from the men. Now, this is one of the shows, for me, whenever I talk to somebody who is skeptical about anime, they're a little bit older, they feel like there's nothing in anime for them because they think it's just for teens and kids, I always recommend Jin Roh the Wolf Brigade for two reasons. First of all, because it is loaded with mature themes, and secondly, because it's a movie. I always think if there's somebody who's trying to get into anime, or maybe they're skeptical about it, they probably don't have the patience to sit there and watch a 50-episode long anime series. Just give them a movie. Everybody can watch a movie, and this is something that will almost always work, I can guarantee that. But this is actually the second time that I'm reviewing this. I talked about this a long time ago, back when I had long hair, no clips in the video, I don't think. So I think that this is a movie that just deserves for me to go back and revisit it and one-up the video that I made years ago on it. So let's begin. So the story of Jin Roh the Wolf Brigade is easily one of the most complex that you can find within anime movies. This is set during 1950s Japan in an alternate timeline where they're under German occupation. So as you would expect, this creates massive civil unrest, but on top of that, they're going through this massive economic change for the country as they're going through this industrialization, which brings everybody to come live in the cities. So people are practically living on top of each other because there's so many of them there, and this creates poor living conditions and also crime as well. So in turn, the government, they ramp up their law enforcement and practically become a police state, and the people aren't too happy with that, so they're protesting and fighting against the police here, and it's conflict on top of conflict, because on one side within the government, they're not exactly at peace either. There's turmoil there, as you have organizations which are not working together, they're actually in conflict with each other, and having double agents, people are trying to double cross each other there. And then on the civilian side, there's this network where they're underground bringing napalm and other bombs into the city so that they can fight against the government. There's so much here going on, and that's exactly what we see in the beginning of this movie as they show how they sneak bombs into the city so that they can fight against the police. But as you would expect, the government is not going to take that lightly, so they send out the big guns, and that's where the story begins. The story mostly focuses on Kazuki Fusei, who is a member of the Special Police Forces, aka the power suit-wearing walking tanks on the cover of the DVD that mow everybody down with miniguns. He's one of those. So the story kicks off when Fusei's unit of badass power armor-wearing police officers go into the sewers in order to cut off the supply chain where everybody's bringing in napalm and bombs into the city, and it's here that he's met by one of the little girls. It's a young girl. She is aiding the freedom fighters by transporting bombs to them, and she decides to blow herself up in front of him, trying to kill him, but she should know better because this is anime and he's wearing power armor. But it's here that he sees, like, he's looking into her eyes when she does it, and that traumatizes him because he was supposed to be the one to kill her, to prevent her blowing up that bomb and destroying part of the city, but he doesn't. So this is something that actually traumatizes him, leaving him with PTSD, which actually affects his character. So despite the fact that Fusei is the focal point of the story, he's actually a very silent character, and we really don't know what's going on inside of his head, with the exception of all of the flashbacks that we see about the girl who blew herself up in the beginning of the movie. Anything aside from that is mostly going to be told to us through narration of another character in the story, and at best they're speaking metaphorically, so we really never learn what he's really feeling or what he's really thinking until the end of the movie. We've got to pick it up through his body language, we've got to decode what other people are saying about him and how he's interacting in certain situations, and some people may not be a big fan of that. Personally, I would like to know more about these characters, but I think it works very well given the circumstance. Plus, on top of that, if you finish the movie and you think back about it, if you were to be told everything that he's thinking, it would definitely spoil it, and it wouldn't nearly be as suspenseful as it actually is. And I said it, this is one of those movies that's like a visual puzzle, and you gotta decode everything and watch it again to have a better understanding and let everything soak in that second watch through. So in addition to Fusei suffering with the PTSD, he also has a very strange love interest as well, because when he's going to visit the ashes of the girl, he actually bumps into a girl claiming to be her sister here. So he actually starts having a relationship with her, and at the same time, you never really know how seriously he's taking the relationship because we don't really know what's inside of his head, but we can tell that to some extent he really does care for this girl, but we don't really learn a lot about her either, because her past and her most inner desires are really guarded and shrouded up until near the end of the movie, when the blanket is just pulled away and it's all revealed and you're left standing there shocked. In regards to the rest of the characters in the movie, they're just there to progress the plot, and I know a lot of times in anime, when you have a very bland and dry protagonist, you're going to have a side character that is very interesting to balance that out, very exciting character, but this movie doesn't have that, and I feel like it works very well for that, and I never once felt like these characters are lacking personality. I just felt like their personalities are obscured, and you've got to decode it and uncover it from what people are saying and how they're acting and the body language and everything, and I felt for those reasons that the characters worked very well for this movie. So let's move on and talk a bit about the plot. The movie begins with this massive exposition sequence where it explains everything about the way the world is, how everything came to pass, and all of the problems within their society, which I thought they did a really good job of doing that, because this is a movie that's in an alternate timeline and we need to know why things are the way they are and what is different from our world, especially when you're considering that this is set in the past, but it is an alternate timeline. Having said that, the exposition wasn't perfect. There's a lot of questions that I still have, but at the same time, I get the feeling that if they were to take the extra time to explain all that stuff, the movie would have been 3 hours long, and a lot of the questions I have don't really pertain to the major story that's being told here. Continuing from there on, after the giant riot in the beginning of the movie, we see that Fusei is actually being reprimanded for not killing the girl and stopping that bomb, so he is sent back to training, and we're basically seeing how he deals with all this, how he's dealing with the PTSD, but at the same time, we're trying to uncover the mystery of what's really inside of him and what's going on with his special unit, the Wolf Brigade. So next I want to touch on two questions which I feel like some of you are really asking right about now, which is, how's that action and how's that romance? So the action here is definitely intense. I really love the gunfights in this. They're totally one-sided though. You get some people that are wearing these power armor suits and they're walking around with miniguns just mowing people down. It's going to be totally one-sided, but they are really fun to watch, and the romance here is not like what you would expect, because it's like I said, all of these characters' motives, their personality, their background, their history, you know, all that stuff is hidden behind this veil that's all going to be revealed at the end of the movie, which, like I said, the movie is not about the romance, so it's only just a minor part of the movie. So let's talk a bit about the presentation here. Jin Roh, the Wolf Brigade, comes from Studio IG, and they do an outstanding job here. So there are times in this movie where they do such a good job in animating the character's body language that you can feel their inner emotions. There's even times, like in the beginning of the movie, when the girl was blowing herself up, you could see Fusei in his power armor. Even though you couldn't see his face, you could sense emotion from that, and they don't change anything around on the face or anything like that. It's just the way that the body moves. You could feel that emotion through the suit, so they definitely did a good job in animating the characters to have body language that portrays their feelings, even if their feelings aren't solidified with any sort of dialogue. And I feel like body language is very important in anime, and that's why I don't really like when characters fly off the handle and start getting all angry and have the crazy backgrounds or anything like that. I would prefer their emotions to be portrayed through the body language as well as other forms of characterization too. So they did an outstanding job with that. The action scenes here are amazing. Like, you'll see the bullets just flying through the air, the shells dumping onto the ground. There's one time, my most memorable scene out of this entire movie, aside from that ending, is when Fusei just barges through a wall, not through a door, through a wall, and comes into this room with his power armor on with his gun, and you see all of the wood just flying in the air for like a split second. You just see this beautiful scene of him flying through the wall like that. That, to me, is one of the most memorable scenes out of this entire movie. They did a great job in animating it. Now, as far as the character designs and really anything else in the movie are concerned, they went for a very realistic approach, and I also loved how when they created the armor, it looks like this skeleton suit, but it's like this exoskeleton power suit, and there's so much detail that they put into that. It looks so beautiful, but I do have to say that there are times when the detail is lacking and some of the characters' faces look very dry and bland, and then power armor is missing some of the finer detail and shading in some moments, but, you know, it's not there most of the time, so this is definitely something that is a minor issue, and I think anybody who watches this is going to think that it's absolutely beautiful, especially for 1999. Now, as far as the music is concerned, it blends in beautifully and creates this moody environment. It really does a good job in that, and as far as the voice acting is concerned, this has an English dub. I've seen it multiple times different ways. The English dub, it's alright, and you can have a good experience in watching this with the English dub, but I would recommend just watching it with the Japanese audio. That's the way that I feel about these movies that are the slow burn, and you gotta watch it several times to really uncover things, especially when it's really gritty like this. Now, moving on to my final thoughts, I said it earlier and I'll say it again, Jin Roh the Wolf Brigade is a very polarizing film. It's not for everybody, but I think everybody should give it a chance and just see if you like it. I have a feeling that some people might feel that is boring because it is very slow paced, but I think that there are a lot of people out there that think that they might not enjoy this from some of the things that I say about how it's a really slow paced movie, and I think many of you will come away with a really solid enjoyment of the film. Jin Roh the Wolf Brigade is currently licensed by Discotek and is available on Blu-ray. If you want to check it out and pick it up for yourself, I have links to that in the description section below through Right Stuff and Amazon. You can check that out there, and if you've seen Jin Roh the Wolf Brigade, let me know your thoughts about that in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the review, be sure to subscribe and also like the video. It really helps out a lot. And if you'd like to support the channel, we have a Patreon. We're currently working towards being totally viewer-funded and ad-free at this point. Go ahead and check it out, and if you enjoy the video, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.